Welcome to the Barbados Today Evening News Update for Friday, February 8th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Barbados's lone ice cream company is in a wait-and-see mode. According to BICO's executive chairman, Edwin Thorell, the company is waiting to see if government will grant them the concessions needed to finalize the completion of its manufacturing plant. BICO's plant was destroyed in a fire in 2009, and the company is currently outsourcing its manufacturing from Trinidad and Suriname. Speaking at the company's annual press conference to report on its performance, Thorell said while he had no major complaints with the current arrangement, there were some drawbacks with not having its products manufactured in Barbados.
We're almost to the point now where we have the two things we need. One, the bound rate will be applied. Two, the concessions will be billed to manufacturers. Now we will have the confidence to put out the money, finish the factory, and produce here. Now, what it means to us is, particularly Neil here knows that when we are manufacturing in far-flung places, there's nothing wrong with that. It's worked very well, except the one thing is the journey time, the opportunity for something to go wrong. We haven't had a ship sink. Well, we did have one turnover in St. Lucia with a container freezers in it. We've not had any ships sink, but what happens is they have engine failure. They get diverted. There's a strike in Trinidad, there's a strike in Jamaica, and the fact is, suddenly you're worrying, but will that get here in time before we run out? So the net result is we keep far bigger inventory of finished product than we would have to do if we were making something here.
The Caribbean Development Bank weighs in on the slow pace of restructuring of regional airline LIAT, which is owned by Barbados and 3 other Eastern Caribbean governments. Speaking to Barbados Today, CDB President Dr. Warren Smith expressed his disappointment with progress towards executing a plan that the bank funded to stem losses and improve efficiency, among other things. The CDB-funded study of the cash-strapped carrier was completed in mid-2018 and presented to shareholder governments. It outlined the airline's challenges and opportunities and also put forward a series of recommendations.
I must confess that I'm disappointed that those recommendations have not been taken on board in the way in which we had anticipated they would have. Now, one could argue that it's taking place in the context of a number of our countries facing financial difficulties, and therefore they had to put their fiscal situation first. But I think sometimes we're a little bit, we're not sufficiently far-sighted in the way in which we approach these reforms, and we don't recognize that many of our countries benefit quite a bit from aviation. And 2 other countries that are the biggest beneficiaries are Barbados and Antigua, which are 2 bases. And the Barbados base is becoming more and more of a larger base.
A gender gap exists in politics, with Barbadian students showing a clear distrust for politicians. That's according to the findings of a new research conducted by senior lecturers at the University of the West Indies Caville campus, Cynthia Barrett-Giles and Dwayne Devonish, along with lecturer Joan Cuffey. The research, which was released Friday during the Faculty of Social Sciences Brown Bag Seminar Series, showed a high level of cynicism among Barbadian students when it comes to engaging in active politics and political activism.
We also found that in total, those from non-Barbadian, but still in the region, countries, were more likely to have political interests and have higher political ambition than Barbadian students. All right? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Any particular reason for that in terms of what's going on in our society? Why are Barbadian students?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of factors, and some of the factors that we alluded to were psychological, some others were contextual or structural. From the structural standpoint, we've seen that over a number of political administrations, especially high levels of cynicism has actually grown, especially young people being apathetic against politicians, especially things like corruption. All of these things affect political ambition.
And an update now on the 4 Reynold Weekes primary school students who captured national attention for their good deed. The quartet, Nathan and Natalia Leon Blackman, their cousin Jaquan Blackman, and friend Jerome Ford were rewarded today at Assembly. They were presented with certificates of merit from the school and also trophies and certificates from Reginald Jones, whose wallet they found. The students' parents were present at the special ceremony which took place at the school this morning.
It all depends on the training, and he know that he couldn't bring it home, so unless he had to do what is right, you know, either give it to the principal or somebody that is in authority.
But he could not bring it home?
No, he could not. Unless he bring it, then I will have to do what the others have done. But I know I told him as long as he finds things that don't belong to him, can't bring them at me.
It has a lot to do with how you bring up a child, you know, and I always tell him do good and good shall always follow you. So this is just a kind act that he did, and I think it was really good.
In sports, West Indies will be chasing their first whitewash of England in 33 years when the final test rolls off in St. Lucia on Saturday. However, they will have to do it without their inspirational captain Jason Holder, who paid for his team's slow over rate in the Antigua test with a one-match suspension and will have to watch from the sidelines. In standing skipper, that is, Craig Brathwaite believes a clean sweep would send the right message about the state of West Indies cricket, and I wish the team good luck.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
In news from our regional neighbors now, business officials in Trinidad and Tobago take steps to address sexual harassment in the workplace. As we hear in this report from Nisha John Mohammed of TV6 News, the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business has published a board members survey via an online questionnaire to collect the research data and will then use the research, that's the results, to tackle the problem.
Sexual harassment in the workplace is an offense, and it is common in many companies, but swept under the carpet because victims fear losing their job if they report it, or remain silent due to a lack of understanding of the issue. But according to the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business, companies need to create awareness about it, and to help them do this, it's conducting a survey on several companies in Trinidad and Tobago.
We can and should expect real, hard, actionable data. We should expect that we will be able, following this piece of research, like any other piece of research that the university does, that decision makers will be in a position to make better decisions, and they will make these decisions on the basis of evidence.
Program Director Wynette Harewood said the electronic questionnaires will be sent to corporate secretaries and chief executive officers to pass on to employees.
And finally, the United Nations says the situation of ordinary Venezuelans is increasingly critical. However, the UN's aid coordinating branch says it is closely observing developments on the country's border with Colombia, where an aid convoy arrived on Thursday. The agency says it also remains committed to helping residents on a humanitarian basis.
On the situation at the border, yes, UN is monitoring that situation closely. I have no further information as of now to the situation there and cannot go into that any further than what I have said. But there certainly is a close monitoring of that situation. The ideal scenario is that humanitarian aid is provided independent of any political or other considerations than the pure humanitarian, and that is based on need and need alone.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Have a wonderful weekend.